to Connect to Success. I'm your host, Ashley Owens, your personal networking concierge, where we interview the power networkers of all the land, because we've got Zoom that comes on and we can use for meetings. So today I have the pleasure and the privilege of interviewing Miss Hilary Young, who is the president of Hilary Young Creative. Hello, Miss Hilary. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I know. It's exciting to I love how this show is able to kind of be so diverse, right? We're able to do things online, offline, in person, not in person. It's amazing. So I'm glad that we're able to do this today. But you and I actually have a really interesting, similar background, and that's kind of how we bonded. So before we get into that, can you tell people who you are, what you do, and what makes you awesome?
Absolutely. So I'm Hilary Young, and I now run Hilary Young Creative, which is a branding, brand strategy, content strategy consultancy. And I work with small and mid-sized businesses, helping them with all of their strategic needs when it comes to branding and content.
And so, I love what you do, because you and I have a very similar background, and there's a lot that goes into brand strategy, being very authentic, and also the operation part of that, right? So you kind of have to have a thick skin and a little bit of a really OCD mindset, and addicted to coffee. So I'm glad it's not booze, but coffee's a good way to start. Maybe
booze helps too.
But yeah, you and I were both personal assistants to a few celebrities. So please tell the audience who you worked for.
So I actually started, I worked in television for the first half of my career. I actually started working in TV when I was about 17 years old, which is crazy to think about now. That was 20 years ago. And I worked for 2020, the ABC News magazine show. And I was the assistant to Deborah Roberts there, who was one of the correspondents. People now might know her. I believe she does some guest spots on Good Morning America now. And she's also married to Al Roker.
Yeah.
So that's how people might recognize her or her name. And then I ended up after that going on to intern in a few places, including The Daily Show. And when I graduated from college, I was hired to be Stephen Colbert's assistant on a new show at the time called The Colbert Report. And I served as Stephen's assistant for really almost the first 3 years of the show. And it was pretty amazing. I watched the show go from a concept into a reality. And, I think you would agree with this, that the most amazing part of being an assistant is being in the room where it happens and really having the opportunity to soak everything up like a sponge. So I was learning obviously about the TV side of it, but I was also learning about publicity and marketing and branding and the legal stuff, all of these different aspects that go into launching a show, which, fast forward to today, is a lot like launching a brand. So, it seems like I made a very big leap between my TV life and now my branding life, but they're actually pretty similar.
What about working for those high profile people and being in the room where it happened? I mean, like you said, there's not much of a difference because you're learning all the different aspects of it. What have you taken from it?
That's a good question. I think there's a few things. The first I'll say is, people think that working with celebrities and in that world is so glamorous, and to an extent it is, but for the celebrity, it's glamorous. It's not really glamorous for everyone behind the scenes. And, you pretty quickly realize that everyone
is winging it. Is winging it.
Yeah, everyone is winging it, but right. Also they're just like normal people. So everyone you meet will either be really nice and interested in you and open to having a conversation, or they'll be kind of a terrible person. And you know what? Like, real people, laymen, are like that too. And I think that was a really, that I don't want to say they're not that special, but that they're not that different than regular people. And it was also interesting to see in that regard people's work styles, because some people ruled with an iron fist, around especially in the TV world, and some did not. Some had a really kinder, softer approach, especially Colbert. Like, he is just such a wonderful human being. He's so genuine, he's so kind, and he so truly, authentically cares about other people. That being my first job out of college, it was a really amazing experience because he really shaped what I felt a leadership role should be. I didn't feel like it should be, ruling with cruelty and terror, which I think in that world, it often is the case. And he was a real testament to the fact that you could be a nice person and also be talented and driven and get things done. So I think that was the biggest takeaway, because I work with a lot of younger people now, a lot of younger women, and it's really important to me to, reach down a hand and take time for other people and give back where I can and help mentor people where I can. And I think that really stems from my time with him.
Do you think that there is a little bit of an edge that you get, or a little bit of a guard that you put up when you are in a very fast-paced environment like that, right? I know just from my own experience, I think we talked about this a little bit, that you had a wonderful, obviously difficult, and there's amazing challenges, but you had a very good leader, right? Colbert was a fantastic leader. In my instance, it wasn't. It was not that case, and it left me with a bad taste in my mouth, which then put up a guard and a non-trusting factor that I had for people in that industry, which took me time to unlearn, right? So as you build up your own business, and the fact that you've taken such an amazing, experience that you had, your leadership qualities, you could emulate what he did, what worked and what didn't work, right? What advice would you give somebody who, like us, was in that position and they want to start their own business and they may not have had that right leader to emulate?
That's a great question. I actually think I have learned more from the horrible bosses I've had than the good bosses. And by that, I mean, it's such a great experience to learn what not to do. It's such a great experience to take note of what you don't like about working for other people, and then make a note of it and say, I'm actively not going to do that when I'm in a position of power, or I see how this causes a disruption to the bigger process, or I see how this is creating drama or something unnecessary here, and really taking note of it. And I think in a lot of cases, it takes a serious amount of resilience to move through those bad experiences. But if you can get through them, which you can, because we can do hard things, but when you get to the other side, really processing what you don't want to take with you from that experience and leaving it behind and moving forward in a way that really you end up creating a much more authentic leadership style, because you're not just, I've encountered business owners in the past who have been inspired by reading different books and, Tony Hsieh, who just passed away, very sad, but he was the CEO of Zappos. He had this amazing book called Delivering Happiness. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who, wanted to essentially follow his footsteps, try to follow exactly what he was doing. I say, don't do what other people are doing. You figure out how to make your own path, how to make your own way, what your own style is. And yes, maybe it's taking a little bit from Tony Hsieh. Maybe it's taking a little bit from Stephen Colbert. Maybe it means not doing what this one was doing, or, really figuring out how to customize your leadership experience, like your leadership style, because it really gets into the bigger issue of no one really knows what they're doing anything. There's no, like that goes back to the winging it. Everyone's winging it. No one knows what they're doing. But if you can be conscious about what you're trying to create and conscious about your own actions and what you're putting out into the world, you'll see that you'll have a much better experience. People will respond to you in a much better way than just trying to emulate what someone else does, because there's no authenticity in doing that.
And in branding, that's a huge thing. And I think that
Absolutely.
that lesson is a very important one to learn in that. So with your clients, I would assume that your leadership style is cultivated by the mishaps that happened, the challenges you've been through, and then also seeing the benefits of a good leader. So take me through the process of when somebody calls you. What problem are they typically having, you think?
So it varies. I offer a free discovery session to all new or potential clients where we really walk through what they're struggling with, what their challenges are, what their goals are. In some cases, they don't know what their goals are, which to me, I identify as being a problem. So I really spend time to listen to that. There's no two businesses are created equal. So your approach to branding and marketing for every business should be a little bit different. So really, I take the time to get to know them a little bit, to listen to what they're struggling with, and then I put together a customized plan, a step-by-step plan for how we can work together and how I can solve their problems. I mean, really, what I've realized over the last few years is that I am a really good problem solver.
Yeah. So with that problem solving too, I really like to go into your top. Do you have like a tiered approach that you go and work with your clients on?
I do. The tiers are really more about the hourly commitment that they, how fast they want to move through the project. Some are really ready to hit the ground running, and some are a little more tentative. And it's funny, especially on the branding side, anyone going through a rebrand, there's a whole questionnaire that I have for them to fill out. And many of my clients have reported that the experience of going through the questionnaire is like having a therapy session for their business, which honestly is a lot like working with me. There's a lot of like really personal, I really get to know all of my clients really well and create really strong relationships that have continued after our project has been done. I mean, I really cultivate strong relationships with my clients.
So on that note, with your strong relationships, we're going to take a quick break, and I definitely want to go more into your strong relationships. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. We're going to talk to Hilary about her tactical tips and practical takeaways in networking and how she cultivates those strong relationships. We'll be right back.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Just very close to my face. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Connected Success with me, Ashley Owens. I'm your personal networking concierge, and I'm here with Miss Hilary Young. Miss Hilary, I'm so excited that you're here. This is so exciting. Thank you again.
I love being here.
I know.
I'm equally excited. This is great.
I want to go into how. Okay, so your industry is heavily saturated, right? So there's people that are doing something similar or maybe different. But I would really love to know, first of all, before we get into the networking piece, what really makes you stand out? Like, why should somebody come and work with you? And what is a good client for you? And it could be, honestly, since you run your own business, it could be personality. It could be I work better with men. I work better with women. Whatever it may be. What are those? What's that criteria for you?
That's a great question.
Anybody with money.
I really think that the main thing is the type of person that they are and like their values. So, and I think you'll understand this because you have this experience. I'm kind of done with the BS. Like, I just don't want to deal with it. I have dealt with it for a long time and just don't have room for it anymore. So, I'm talking about egos, misogyny, attitudes, not listening. Those are not my ideal clients. I really want people who are open, who are receptive, who are hungry to do the work and are ready to do the work. And I do work with a lot of women. I mean, that is a big segment of what I do. I actually have a separate segment of the business that does marketing coaching for women business owners, because in the branding work I was doing, so many of them, I think one of them, the way she described it was, the marketing is just so icky. I don't like it. It feels gross. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to help you feel confident about it and make you feel like it's not icky and you can do it in a way that's authentic to you. And, again, there's like a little bit of a therapy component that goes into getting to the root of why you have such a resistance to marketing and to selling yourself. There's maybe it's imposter syndrome, maybe there's some other things going on, but especially with women, there is a crisis of confidence a lot of times. And I really like working with women to help empower them and make them feel really confident, especially when it comes to how to brand themselves, sell themselves, market themselves, present themselves to the world. And in so many cases, it leaks out, well beyond their business.
Yeah.
So that's, women business owners who want to improve their marketing skills is definitely a segment of my, client base. And then really it's men, women, everything in between. Anyone who really is just passionate about their business and knows that they could be doing better, can't really identify what they're not doing right, can't really identify, why they're having such a hard time articulating what they do. I basically put words in their mouth and help them figure out how to present themselves to the outside world.
And so when you're helping them figure out how to present themselves to the outside world, how do you use that as a way? So let me go back. I think the question I really want to ask is more along the fact that you are such a coach, you're such a nurturer in that way, that how do you take that style of how you work and translate it into a networking activity or to your networking activities? How does that cross over?
So I've been in business for myself for almost 6 years. And I have never really put money into my own marketing or advertising efforts. Everything has been word of mouth. So again, it comes back to this authenticity piece. I'm such an authentic person. I'm so authentically myself. My clients get me, like I don't wear a different mask when I'm not working. Like, this is 100% who I am and who my clients get. And again, we build such strong relationships that, without me asking, they often go out and sing my praises, and just word of mouth networking. I've been able to grow my business exponentially. I mean, I run a 6-figure business right now. So, Yeah, and even on the B2B side, I've developed a great networking community with partners. I mean, partnerships that I have. So we are PR company that I, work with a lot. We will cross refer business to each other. A web design company, a videographer, a photographer. There's so many different types of creatives out there that need branding experts to recommend to their clients, and vice versa. My clients often need PR, or they need help, with a redesign of their website, especially if we're rebranding. And we've really created this wonderful web of services that we can refer business to one another, and also act almost as like a full service agency for our clients, because we have everything that they need at our disposal, and are so used to working with one another that it feels very seamless.
There's something to be said, though, about building a business by simply word of mouth, right? Whether you're showing your value through your services, whether you're showing your value through good introductions or resources or things that could help that other person. I feel like people don't often, sometimes that you lose steam with that, right? Either you exhaust your network, or you don't nurture it, or people don't nurture it the way that they should. What has been the best way you think in your industry that you could nurture a relationship or a network?
I have to say, I think it helps that I am just a people person. And again, this goes back to my time in television. I am just inherently interested in stories, in people's stories, in getting to know their stories. I spend time building brand stories now. I really love storytelling, and I feel like everyone has an interesting story to tell. And I used to go to these industry networking events, like these marketing events, that were just so boring because everyone was talking about work, and I don't want to know about work. I want to know about all of the other things that make you, that make you interesting. And I think that helps me stand out a little, because I really do have a genuine interest in other people.
And that genuine interest, people can smell BS a mile away, right? So I always talk to my clients about being genuinely curious, right? Being able to actually have those conversations, but asking the right questions on getting that other person to open up, because everyone's guards up at an event, right? Unless, you're fearless like us, when we can just get punched in the face and be like, that's fine, we'll go to the next step. How's your day going? But
that was awkward, on to the next.
Does he sign the checks? Do I have to? It's fine. So one of the things I love about, people who have been in the entertainment industry is the fact, like, to your point, you are people pleasers, people person, whatever. I'm clearly not saying that correctly, but you know what I mean. I apparently need to stop drinking it too. So what I would really, I know that I learned how to network without even realizing it was networking while in that high risk position, right? So whether it was you knew the doorman, you knew the driver, you knew their families, because most of the time you're waiting around, getting to know people. So you needed to know people to effectively get your job done and to save it in case there's, crap hit the fan. So do you think that your own experience working in those high profile positions, as well as very high risk positions, at some point, again, I can only talk from my own experience, but at some point really gave you the tools to understand how to, not only how to communicate with somebody, but to maintain that relationship? Does that make sense? It's a very long-winded question of asking, did your previous position help you with your networking skills now?
Yes, I think, and I think you will relate to this. I mean, when you are the gatekeeper for a celebrity, you have no choice but you're literally dealing with like hundreds of people a day. You're fielding phone calls, you're fielding requests, like people are coming by the office and you have to make small talk if the meeting is running late. And, you know, you have to be, I don't know, like quick on your toes. You have to be pretty flexible. And, you know, I do think part of it is just like, I was born with this. Like I've always been, even as a kid, like people always commented like, oh, you're so good at talking to adults, which I thought was such a weird thing to say. I was like, I'm just good at like talking to people. I don't know. But I also think that because that's naturally who I am, that's also why I thrived in the world of entertainment, because you're right. People can smell BS from a mile away, and like, there was none with me. It was all very genuine, and it really helped me succeed in that world. And all of it has transferred over to what I do now. I mean, you know, again, like I've been in a room full of celebrities at parties, you know, celebrities that like I don't know, and I've been able to like make small talk and meet people. I can totally do an industry event, right? Like I can totally handle walking into a room full of executives or whatever that I don't know, because that fear, you have to have a sense of fearlessness. Like you can't be self-conscious. You just have to go for it. And, you know, you're probably very good at teaching people how to do that. I wouldn't be able to teach anyone how to do that because it's just natural for me. But I admire that you're able to identify what it is and help other people figure out how to do that.
Well, Hilary, that's so very kind of you to say. I'm going to talk to you more, but we are coming down to the end of the program. Can you look into the camera that you've been looking into and tell people how they can find you and connect with you and hire you?
Absolutely. So I am everywhere. It's probably hard to avoid me. You can find me I have a website, Hilary Young Creative, if you want to check out a little bit more about what I do. I have an Instagram, Hilary Young Creative. I'm on Twitter. I think there I'm just H Young Creative because I couldn't fit the whole thing into a Twitter handle. I'm on Facebook. I mean, really, I'm everywhere. And I'd love for you to drop me a line, and I always respond. So if you have any burning questions or just want to say hi, I would love to hear from you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hilary. Thank you, everybody, for watching Connect to Success on RVN TV. I am your host, Ashley Owens. Please, please, please reach out to Hilary for all of your marketing and branding and needs when it comes to anything marketing, because she's pretty fabulous. And in fact, we're running in the same circles, so she'll get stuff done for you. Please reach out to me at ashley@ashleysis.com if you'd like to be a guest on the show to talk about your tactical tips and practical takeaways in networking. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much.